Anyway, we'll get started. Welcome to our first speaker, Stephen Lee. Stephen's the GM at Manuka Farming NZ Limited, and through their work, collaborative work with MPI and the High Performance Manuka Plantations Primary Growth Partnership Program, they're now able to provide the know-how from this program to landowners through Manuka Farming NZ Limited. So welcome, Stephen, and we'll allow you to get started with your talk.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm searching out for Campbell. He's not here, but anyway, Campbell, thank you for giving me the first presentation after lunch. Always a bit of a challenge, this one, but I hope I'll make it easy for you guys, make it interesting. My talk will not be too long, and that's been deliberately designed because I'd like to have time for you to ask questions, and so I'll just get started. So thanks for the thanks for the introduction. I just want to cover today who we are, because many of you, if not virtually all except one or two, might not have heard of us. I'll talk a bit about the Primary Growth Partnership Program. Yes, if we add the subject matter of this program, it is a bit of a mouthful. Just tell you a bit about our mission, and also what's driving us both economically and environmentally. And then I'll close off with a conclusion. So, who are we? Mānuka Farming NZ Limited is owned by Manuka Research Partnership Limited, which is in turn owned by a number of entities, some of which you may, whose names you may be familiar with. So we have two honey companies who are our shareholders. They are Tweedale Honeys and Comvita, a public company. We also have Nukuhau Carbon, that is a carbon farming, carbon trading company. We've got the Hawke's Bay Regional Council, Landcorp, and Te Tumu Paeroa, the Maori Trust Office. So like I said, some of you may be familiar with those names, but they are quite fairly significant names for us, and in terms of and they've all got various interests as to why they're actually involved. So about 7 years ago, Manuka Research Partnership Limited entered into a research program which was co-funded by MPI, Ministry of Primary Industries, which seek to find out, if you like, the technical and economic feasibility of growing Manuka as a plantation for the production of Manuka honey. Because most of our Manuka honey that is produced at this point in time is produced from wild Manuka, which is getting old, and there are other implications of Manuka honey coming from the wild stock. Anyway, this program is due to be completed in September next year, so we haven't got long to go. And this one here, you'll see these two are taken from just down the road here, Lake Tutira, which is one of our trial sites. This was the one with lots of people, was early on in the piece when we had a tour there showing what Manuka cultivars were planted in the different parts of Lake Tutira and the reasons why. We had at different spacings, different cultivars, etc. And we're monitoring the performance of those trees. The other photograph there where you see someone with a hat, that was just taken 2 weeks ago. I and that person were there. We were actually collecting nectar from the Manuka there. We were measuring the trees there as part of our ongoing plantation monitoring. So what's our mission? Our mission is to be the leader in the delivery of sustainable plantation Manuka honey. Is to be the leader in the delivery of sustainable plantation Manuka for the production of high-quality Manuka in New Zealand. And we do this by helping landowners and investors make informed decisions on the establishment of plantation Manuka for high-grade honey. So one of the key things is actually we don't want landowners, investors, or anyone, in fact, losing money because of the hype that may be around Manuka honey. We believe we have a responsibility through the research program and through what we know through our partners that are involved to provide information that is as accurate as possible and up to date as possible and as complete as possible so that informed decisions can be made by those who are looking to put money in. And we also provide the service, products, and systems to successfully establish and commercialize plantation Manuka for high-grade honey. Obviously, through our research, we have learnt what, and we are still learning, we've learned what works and what doesn't work. And again, as part of that risk mitigation, risk minimization for the landowner, we want to ensure that they get that information as well. And we have a process called our 6-step process to Manuka farming success, which I'll go into a little bit later, which provides a process or systematic way of developing plantation Manuka. But if we look at the bigger picture as to why we're in this business in the first place, there are obviously economic drivers to this, but there are also environmental drivers. And the economic drivers include building a sustainable supply base for the Manuka honey industry in New Zealand. Because I've mentioned before that Manuka honey comes almost entirely from wild Manuka at the moment. The issue with that is that wild Manuka stock is getting old. Another issue is that it is you're relying on its, I guess, wherever it's located currently. So we believe that for the sake and health and sustainability of the Manuka honey industry in New Zealand, it is vital that the supply end, the tree end, the flower end, there's we build up a sustainable tree stock, if you like, that will ensure that we do have a Manuka honey industry that is sustainable and profitable. We also want to provide landowners with an alternative or additional economic return on land that might not otherwise be economically viable, and I would argue environmentally viable as well. But for that, they need information. We also see this as a generator of carbon credits, which is an important factor in looking at the financials of this venture. And lastly, this is a new industry. Plantation Manuka is a new industry. We've had, probably plantation Manuka has been going for about 3-4 years, so it's still new. So we see this as an opportunity to build a new generation of smart farming techniques, tools, etc., using proving science and technology to drive efficiencies and remove waste. This is our opportunity to not do things as how necessarily it's always been done, but how do we use technologies like drone technology and other smart technology to manage plantations and avoid waste and have smarter management techniques where preemptive action can be taken on information that we know ahead of time. So this is a great opportunity in this industry for smart technology to be used. The environmental factors or drivers include contributing to the preservation of the environment and enhancing local biodiversity and enhancing local biodiversity. We see Manuka plantations making a significant contribution to reconnecting environments across the landscape, providing native species to thrive, cover for native species to thrive. So, you have large pieces of pasture, etc., and many landowners are looking at Manuka as an option. Now, this provides an opportunity where Manuka is grown to provide cover for the growth of other native species as well. we aim to utilize local Manuka wherever possible through eco-sourcing, and incorporate other native species to complement Manuka to feed the bees throughout the year. And hence we have a partnership with Trees for Bees, who has spent many, many years looking at what plants do you plant, both exotic and native, to provide food to bees so that they're a healthy bee colony, which is really, really important. Because without a healthy bee colony, you can have these Manuka plantations growing beautiful Manuka trees, but if you don't have the bees at the end, all it is beautiful trees. Okay? And we aim to utilize local people, especially iwi where they want to, and businesses to source, breed, and ultimately harvest and process the honey. We believe strongly in a regional approach, utilizing regional stock, local people, local businesses, because we believe that's overall good for everyone. So in short, we look to adopt a holistic approach to all that we do. On the environmental side, some of you, this report just came out in September, and that was a group of plant and food research scientists have contributed to a collaborative program led by Canterbury University, which found that after the heavy application of urea, the soil around Manuka and Kānuka trees contained dramatically less nitrate than around radiata pine used as a comparison. So, this is really another, I guess, important factor or aspect that gets us even more excited about the options for Manuka plantation because of its benefits to the environment and economically as well. So I mentioned the 6-step process early on, and I'd like to briefly go through that. The reason why we've developed the 6-step process is to provide let me go back a bit. When I first came to this job just probably about 14 months ago, I found that many inquiries that I was getting were from people who were saying, we'd like to get some Manuka seedlings off you. And you start asking questions and you find that they've just read about it and they think that the answer is to get some seedlings. So we felt it was our responsibility to provide some sort of framework that enabled a discussion to take place, firstly. So we developed a 6-step process which enabled us to then, when we show it to our client or prospect, we can say, well, which stage do you think you're at here? So it provides a basis for a meaningful conversation. What it also does, it actually provides the client or prospect with a bit of education as to the process that's actually involved if they actually want to develop a successful plantation. So step 1 is where we have initial assessment. There's basically a phone call. I will ask them whereabouts they're located. I will look it up Google Earth. And I'll ask them some other questions about the size. Size is very important in this game. And from that, I will be able to provide a preliminary technical assessment. In other words, this is you might have problems here because you're in a part of the country which is really too cold for bees, or too windy, or the climate just isn't right. So, we can have that kind of discussion up front, free. I usually follow that up with a written letter which provides things in writing, and quite often at that point in time, they come back and say, right, we'd like to go ahead with a site assessment. So what we'd do, we'd go out, have a site assessment, we'd look at, we'd confirm some of the risks that may be involved there. We'd come up from that with a master plan, which includes how you should look at establishing Manuka, whether you get some hybrid cultivars that have been specially developed for Manuka honey production, or regional cultivars, or eco-sourcing, and as well as other natives that they should consider planting if they're looking to have their hives there throughout the year. You'd also have a plantation plan in terms of what you would plant where and why, and financial projections. Now, we like to actually get involved in the actual plantation itself, because it's, again, if we do it, we know it's been done properly. We also work with the beekeeping specialists to ensure that things are, even though you're not going to get honey until about 4 years down the track, you start planning for it. So I'm just hurrying up a bit because my time allocation is running out. About 6 years, from year 4 onwards, you can start harvesting honey, but throughout that period, we're monitoring the plantation, okay? Which is really important. What that enables us to do as well is actually, as we get the results, actually benchmark it against the performance of other Manuka plantations that we are involved in. It's all anonymous, but enables clients to actually benchmark performance. I'd just like to conclude by saying this. Manuka honey generated from plantation Manuka is still in its infancy stage in New Zealand. And we recognise we have a responsibility in influencing the development of these plantations. This includes the preservation of biodiversity and working with others in the industry to achieve this. We need to work collaboratively with those in and outside the industry. And we are committed to intentionally working with others to present a unified voice to policy makers, key influencers and decision makers in the development of these plantations in an environmentally and economically sustainable way. And to that extent, for example, we work closely with actually Manuka Farms. We've got a brochure out there, and Joanne is here. And we see it as really important as working with those who are important in the industry, so that we're combining our knowledge, we're learning to work together, and at the end of the day, being more effective as a voice, like I say, to government, etc. Time's up. On it up.
Thank you very much, Stephen, and yeah, everybody can